In this video, I will be demonstrating how I created a little bit more extra room in the front of my van to accommodate my Red Fox Labrador. First up, I head to B&Q to pick up some supplies. It was here that I stumbled across a nice bit of plyboard that was already pre-cut, so that was a bonus. I didn't actually have to get it cut, and that went straight in my basket, as they say. And then we headed on over to the timber section, and I actually overestimated how many bits of wood I needed. I did in fact get 3 of these. I will link it in the description exactly what I've got, but yeah, you can see me just walking around there enjoying life, loving it. Next, I headed over to Hobbycraft to get a hold of some pillows. I got 2. These were 2 for £4, lovely jubbly. I then got a hold of some material to cover it, and then some upholstery nails as well. So here I am back at the van using a moving box as a template. I've just folded it up, and I'm basically just going to hack away at the cardboard to match it to the dashboard, basically. It does take a long time. I make it look really quick, but it probably took about a good hour at doing this just to get it bang on. And I also used a bit of sellotape, as you can see there, because I did cut it a bit short. Next up, you want to get your plyboard and your template, pop them on top of each other, get a pen, and simply draw around it. Now this is the part where you've just got to have a lot of faith in your template. Make sure your template is spot on before you do start, marking out your template, because otherwise it won't fit. And yeah, just draw around it like so, taking your time, making sure you get it right, holding it in position using your body or whatnot. As you can see, that's nicely draw out there. And then I've not used any fancy tools. I'm simply using an old wood saw here. But you can get a jigsaw to do this if you so wish. That would be a lot easier. But nothing beats a good old-fashioned saw. And once you've done this, you just want to just chuck it back in the van and see if it does fit. So that is what we're going to be doing next. It looks a very odd shape, but again, just trust your template and it will fit. What I've done is I've actually cut this too long, and you'll see me here marking the front trim just to the rear seat, just in line, because I wouldn't be able to close the door otherwise. And what I've done is I've actually just drew a straight line, not matching the dots up, just to see how that would initially fit. And it didn't really line up all that well. Sometimes these cars and vans can be very deceiving. So just trust your marks. What I've now done is just drawn dot to dot. And I'm just going to cut that out because it does fit. I checked it in this shot here. It was lining up a lot better than my original mark where I just drew a straight line. As you can see there, one straight and one slightly curved. I've obviously gone not curved, it's slightly off center, off line. So we've cut that off now. Chuck it back in the van, constantly checking, measuring twice, cutting once. And then I've also just closed the door, sat in the van just to make sure it does fit. And it's got a nice bit of wiggle room to it. I didn't want it too tight in there because I do need to put some cloth around it. Next thing up is filing it. You want to get a nice sort of rasp file with a smooth end on it, and I've just gone round, filed it all up so it's not too sharp. Here you can see me just measuring out some legs. These are going to be the front side closest to the door. These on the floor, they were the flattest part of the floor. They do have some ridges and bumps in the floor, so I knew to cut these two just right. And yeah, so we're going to screw those onto the board here. You can see that I've marked quite a few spaces on there where I think that legs will fit. And what I've done is I've just got ahead and got myself a pilot bit, drew 2 pilot holes through the wood on these 2 near sides here. And then I've also countersunk using a countersunk bit, just the holes on the other side, so the screws don't sit on the top, they sit flush with the wood. And then you just want to go ahead and just screw your 2 bits of wood into your board, just making sure that they're nice and straight, just making sure that these line up and they're nice and square. I just used some long wood screws. I didn't pilot them. It didn't crack them. They were absolutely fine just because they were quite thin screws. And then here you can see me cutting just one leg. This is the one where there is a slight bump in the floor, so I had to cut it shorter. Obviously just taking it back into the van, putting it in, measuring it. So yeah, that's all good. Also, top tip, I've actually made this platform slightly lower than the seat, as you may be able to see in this video here. You might not be able to. It is slightly lower just to allow for the cushions that I do put on. Obviously you can just see them just on the edge there, these two legs, and then the one at the back is just ever so slightly higher. So I'm just back cutting some more legs. I cut an additional 2 legs, as I think that is all that was really needed. To be fair, I was going to cut an extra 3, but I think 2 will do. It felt really rigid. So there's just me drilling the pilot bits again, and then flipping it up, and then using the countersink bit just to, look at that, lovely, just to make sure those screws aren't sticking out. You screw them in. You don't have to use a impact driver, you can just use a screwdriver, it will go in. You might want to pilot those if you are using a screwdriver, just it takes a little while. And I'm just going to put in some supporting beams here. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect, you know, it just needs to do the job, and that is support the weight of probably a 30-kilogram dog, which it will. So that is it all in the van, last and final time before it gets upholstered, or some upholstery on it. Looking fresh. Got to give it the official stroke, make sure it's good. So I am going to just voice over this little bit here just because it's easier to do. But I was just basically explaining that the legs on this, you know, they're really sturdy, they're not the best looking. It will do the job in obviously it is nice and strong, so it will support Reggie. This bit here is slightly shorter, as I did explain, just because obviously a small bump in the footwell of the van. So that is why that is looking a little bit odd. So I did go for 2 pillows as my base over foam. These were, you know, cheap. They were good, and they are nice and puffy. They're going to provide a lot of comfort for Reg in the van. Yeah, you can't get wrong, I don't think, with pillows. Not that I've done this before, but hey ho. This is the cloth that I had cut. I had it cut way too big, but I'd rather it be too big than too small. Whee! What I'm going to do though to counteract it obviously being that big is just double it up, and that's the way that I'm going to get over that, and it should just provide a little bit more added comfort for Reg when he's in the van. So yeah, next I'm going to use these upholstery nails, and what I'm going to do is just nail down one side of the material to the base, just because I feel like I can then just slide the pillows in afterwards, and then just tap it down the other side. I hope that does make sense, and I am describing that well. As you can see, it is just pinned down one side. I'm going to flip it over, and then what I'm going to do is just pop these pillows pop the pillows in here like this. Yeah, I've just overlapped them ever so slightly. It does look a little bit like there's a lump in the middle, but once I pull it all together and it's tight, well, look at that for technique. Once I pull it all together, it should be absolutely fine. And whilst you're just pinning these two together, these two sides, you can get your hand in the other two ends and just manipulate the pillows around to your liking as well. And yeah, you can see me here just manipulating the pillows and really pulling that cloth quite tight, and just getting these nails in. Look at that. I think that's impressive. For the first time I've ever done it, that is impressive. What I have done on the other side, just to make sure the ones that I just did then, is I put them in loose. So that's why, and there's only a couple along there. That's why it's just not looking that tight, that side. I just didn't want to put it in all the way and then not be able to get them back out. So what I've done now is just put them all in nice and tight. And now I'm just going to attempt to do the corner. So I'm folding it over here like a present, the only way that I thought would be adequate. Which did work out really, really well. There was a couple that broke when I was tapping them in, but out of the 60 in total, most of them went in. And then just cut off the excess here. I just used a pair of kitchen scissors. They weren't the best, but they did the job. And then here's the final fit, which I think, you'll all admit, is pretty snazzy. He's going to love that, little Reg. He's going to absolutely love it. But yeah, I hope you have enjoyed the video. Please give it a thumbs up. And subscribe, and just put in the comments what you think, or if there's anything else that I could have done differently. But yeah, until next time, ciao.